Thank you, Rhea. What a beautiful message. A wonderful reminder. Two men were walking through a field one day, and they encountered a raging bull. Once seeing the bull, they decided to flee, to run towards the nearest fence. And as they were running in hot pursuit, the bull started chasing right after them. And the one guy yelled out, "John, put a prayer up. We're in for it." And John thought, "Friend, I can't do that. I've never prayed a public prayer before in my life." The companion said, "John, please put a prayer up and do it quick. The bull is catching up on us." And John says, "Well, all right, I'll pray the only prayer that I know. I'll pray the prayer that my father used to pray at the table." And John began to pray, "Oh, Lord, for what we are about to receive, make us thankful." Oh, Lord, y'all should pray right now. Just pray. You see, if you send me some of these jokes, I can share some of your jokes. As we consider this month of November, we've been following the teachings of the co-founder of Unity, Charles Fillmore, in his writings titled The 12 Powers. And over the course of the year, I don't know if you've really been paying attention, those of you who've been here, we have been spiritualizing these 12 powers of the soul, 12 powers of qualities of mind that Charles identified in his writings. And he suggests that when we spiritualize these 12 spiritual centers, which are very much in alignment with the chakra systems of the body, that when we spiritualize these centers, once spiritualized, will help us to do, as Paul talked about, put on the mind of Christ, the mind that is made in the image and likeness of the divine, of God. That we become more Christ-like. We become the Christed ones. And as we consider this month of November, we're focusing on the 11th. Can you believe it? This is the 11th month already. The 11th quality of mind, and that quality of mind is the power of elimination or the power of renunciation that takes the form of the disciple Thaddeus. Now, how many of you have heard about Thaddeus? We really don't. There's not much said about Thaddeus. So prayerfully over the course of the next few weeks, we'll learn more about Thaddeus, this disciple that is within us, that is always working with us. There's a color that's associated with this particular power, and the color is russet or brown. So we carry something russet or brown to remind us of this quality of mind that's always working. And if you put your hand here, your abdominal region, this is your Thaddeus center. This is your elimination center. We all know that. Have you ever had an experience? Maybe you heard something, you witnessed something, you experienced something. Maybe someone said something to you, and you just felt this pull or something right here in your abdominal region, that there was something that you just could not digest. So that was your Thaddeus, that spiritual quality, that power that was seeking to release. And this is so important. We really need this particular quality to be spiritualized, because what it does is it keeps the soul, the seed of the soul, in the words of Gary Zukov. The seed of the soul, as we understand it, is the subconscious phase of our being. It keeps the subconscious clear and free of the debris of life. I'm hearing the words of the great teacher who was a follower, a devotee of Sai Baba, Sathya Sai Baba, who I got to experience years ago in India. Her name was Swamini. You may know her, a.k.a. as Alice Coltrane. She had a spiritual center in Agora Hills. I think it's Agora Hills, California. And when I had an audience with her, she said something very profound. She was speaking prophetically to me, and she began to tell me what all she saw. She says, "Jack, these things will come to pass, but there must be no residue of the world found in you and your soul. You must keep your subconscious, the soul, purged and cleansed, eliminating, renouncing, and releasing the things of life that really serves no meaning and does not serve us for our highest good." So as we consider this power, this faculty of renunciation, it is twofold in nature. Elimination, renunciation, it comes to help us eliminate error and all of the clutter, all of the mess of life. September was our month of what? Who recalls? It was the month of order. It was the month of getting the consciousness, getting the house in order. October was the month of what? Zeal. That Simon the Zealot, that inner voice, that inner part of ourselves that's always enthusiastic about hearing good news. And so renunciation, the first nature of renunciation or elimination is to free us, to rid us of the errors of life, errors. Pardon my southernness. The second nature of this spiritual power, and I pray that you listen closely to this, is that it helps us to expand the good. And that's where we want to focus this morning. We want to, over the next few minutes, we want to focus on that second aspect of elimination, of renunciation, that comes to help us expand the good. Simon the Zealot is that part of us that's eager to hear good news. Thaddeus comes to help us expand the good once we hear it. And to help us with this train of thought, we'll speak from the subject, the power of gratitude. The power of gratitude. By a show of hands, how many of you consider yourself to be a grateful person? A person that lives in gratitude. At least you seek that. You seek to be grateful. Yeah. There's that part of us, of all of us, that seeks that longs to express gratitude and thanksgiving for the bounty of good, for the things that we experience. Paul says in his writings, in everything give thanks. It's easy to give thanks when things are really going well, right? We can all say thank you. But then he says, in everything give thanks, for this is the command of God. Says in thanksgiving and giving thanks and expressing gratitude, we raise the vibration and we activate the law that Reverend Michael Beckwith and some of the other teachers talked about in The Secret. We activate what? That spiritual principle called the law or the principle of attraction. That once we elevate and express our gratitude and thanksgiving, that the vibration of the thing that we are grateful for has drawing magnetic power. There are two contrasting aspects of the soul, and this is within each of us. There's a part of us that just so innately we give thanks. It's just a natural part of us. But then there's a contrasting part of every soul, and that is that part that complains. Oh, I know I'm not the only one. To thy own self be true. Now, by a show of hands, how many of you can really be honest? Be honest now. Come on. Tell the truth and stay in church. How many of you can be honest and really identify those two natures within yourself? Yeah, we all can. Because we are spiritual beings, we teach that, but we are in this human experience, that we are in we're on this level, this frequency, so the things of this experience we are all subject to. But we're called to be in the world, but not of the world. So as we consider this, that there's a gratitude part of us, that part of us that just gives thanks. We're grateful. We're just great. We're grateful. Take a breath. We're grateful for the air that we breathe, and we're grateful that we can take that air, and we're grateful for nature. We're grateful for the trees and for the flowers. We're grateful for life. Yet there's that part of us that, we're just, we're not so grateful in some things. We look for those things that are not going so well and we lift them up. Just like the story is told of a monk who joined a monastery and took a vow of silence. After his first 10 years, his superior called him for an audience and asked the monk, well, do you have anything to say? The monk thought and he replied, food bad. And went back into silence. Another 10 years passed, and the superior called the monk once again for an audience and asked the monk, well, 10 years have passed. Do you have anything that you want to share? The monk thought. Then he said, bed hard. He went back into the silence. Another 10 years passed. The superior called the monk in for another audience and asked the monk, well, would you like to share your thoughts 10 years later? The monk said, I quit. And the superior said, well, that doesn't surprise me a bit because you've been complaining the whole while you've been here. Friends, thanksgiving and complaining express those two contrasting attitudes of the soul. The soul that gives thanks, listen closely. The soul that gives thanks can find comfort in anything. But the soul that complains will find comfort in nothing. As we consider this spiritual power and process, and I often pray the prayer of gratitude, and that's a prayer of thanksgiving. And many of you have had this experience with me when you come to meet with me and I ask you to pray. How many of you have had that experience? So this is a heads up for those of you who seek an audience with me. So when you come, the first thing that I do is pray, and I may often ask you to pray. And it's been interesting to see on many instances, people, they just freeze up. And sometimes it's just the two of us. They're in a cold sweat, and they're sweating profusely. And Jack, I've never prayed aloud. I'm like, that's okay. Just pray what's in your heart. And then I hear the words that Oprah Winfrey, that great theologian, often, you know Oprah, she often quotes Meister Eckhart. He says that if the only prayer you ever pray is thank you, that is prayer enough. Friends, those two simple words embody so much power. Gratitude not only has the power to heal us, gratitude has the power to restore our energy and to even change our lives. If you find yourself experiencing any kind of discomfort in your life, in your body, in your affairs, if you can just take a moment, if it's in your hands or in your wrists, if it's in your organs, take a moment and begin to tell that part of yourself how grateful you are, how thankful you are of it. And feel the cells of that part of your body with gratitude. You'll experience amazing results. It says that behavioral and psychological research has revealed that gratitude heightens the quality of life. I'm going to share this very quickly. It says two psychologists, Michael McCullough of Southern Methodist University in Texas and Robert Emmons of University of California, did an experiment. They wrote an article about the power of gratitude and how gratitude can ultimately affect our well-being, our health, our entire life. And what they did is they took several hundred people and they divided them into three groups, and they gave them each a diary. We call them journals now. How many of you keep a gratitude journal on your laptop? You at least express some sense of gratitude throughout the day. So this first group was told to just keep a journal, and they were not told what to journal, but every day they were just to journal their thoughts, good, bad, or indifferent, just journal. The second group was told to only journal, write about those unpleasant experiences. That's sometimes easy to do, right? Especially when it's on our mind. Just write about all of the unpleasant experiences. But the third group was told to only journal about the blessings, the good that they experienced in their life, the things for which they were grateful for. And it says that the study revealed that the group that expressed their gratitude and then journaled only about the things for which they were grateful, they experienced, said they were less likely to feel depressed or stressed. They were more alert, more enthusiastic, more optimistic, more energetic, full of vitality. But the other group that certainly journaled only about the things that's going bad in their, those negative things, unpleasant things, they experienced just the opposite. We are inundated with so many blessings every day. There's an old, I don't know if it's a Unity favorite or it's a Jack favorite. It says, count your blessings one by one. Have you ever heard of that song? Count your many blessings. See what God has done. And as we consider this idea of gratitude and the power of thanksgiving, you've heard the saying that you never miss the water until the well runs dry. Have you heard that? I've shared with the other two services. Well, I lived that and I know it to be so. Growing up in the southern Midwest part of Tennessee, a small town, Camden, Tennessee, in the rural of the area, of that community. We grew up with well water. And we had to dig about 50 feet in the earth to be able to pull water from this, the streams underneath the earth, under the earth. And I remember my mother, she would always yell, "Turn off the water. You turn the water off. You're running the water. You're going to run the well dry. Turn the water off." And we were like, why in the world is Mom tripping on this? It's just water. There's plenty of water on the earth. Why is she tripping? Why is she yelling? Turn the water off. But my mother, in the time in which she was reared, they didn't have well water. They didn't have running water. They had to go down to the springs and to the creeks or go to the neighbors and drop the bucket down in the well and pull the water. I know y'all, this is so foreign to you. They would pull the bucket up to get water to drink, to cook with, to bathe in. So she lived a context that it was so foreign to us. We were privileged. We took it for granted. Like the water's no, we have plenty of water. You know how many streams are under the earth? And sure enough, one day the well did run dry. She says, "I told you all to stop running the water." And for 1 year, I would say it was I thought it was a year. It was probably about a year and a half, really. For 1 year, we were without running water. And we had to hike across the road, down the hill to the streams with jugs and buckets to dip. You see, people don't know the story behind your glory. They don't know what you've been through to get where you are. That's why you got to always give thanks. In everything, give thanks. And if you give thanks, you won't have to go that way anymore. Hallelujah to that. So we would go down with buckets and jugs, and even in the snow, and sometimes during the winter, this is when we really got snow in Tennessee, the snow would be up to my waist, treading through the snow with water to bathe in, to cook with, to drink. Then we had to melt snow just to get water to do the dishes. And then one day, she finally saved enough money, my mother, and she was able to get a well dug, and the moment we were able to turn on the faucet and that water flowed, we shouted, "Thank you, God." She never had to fuss at us again for water. Friends, we have so many things in our life for which we can be thankful for, but what often happens is that we become so desensitized to the blessings because we are such privileged people. We live in a privileged society. It's nothing for us. We have water. We have food. We can go to the trees and get berries. But you go over in Haiti where they can't even grow vegetation. I was there with the orphans, and they have children aged as young as 2 and 3 living on the streets alone with no one to care for them. But we are so blessed and have so much to be thankful for. Let us not take it for granted that there are those in this world who would love to be right where you are, regardless of how challenging your life might be right now, regardless to what a struggle you might be facing. There are many people in this world who would love to be in your shoes. About a couple of years ago, and I'm closing out on this, while I was serving the church in New York City, we invited the Youth Symphony Orchestra from Brazil to visit us and to host concerts there in Manhattan. They performed at Carnegie Hall and a few other venues, but we hosted them. They were our guests. 95 kids from the most impoverished communities in Brazil. They would walk for miles a day just to rehearse, to learn to play music on broken instruments. Sometimes if they were playing the violin, they told us this. Some violins only had one string, but they made the most of sometimes you just got to make the best of your situation and give thanks in spite of. Anyhow. So they learned to play, and they would walk with no shoes, or they had to borrow their parents' shoes with holes in it, just getting there for miles a day to rehearse for free. And they were given an opportunity to come to New York, first time in New York City, 95 kids and their chaperones. And we got to experience Times Square, all of this. We prepared them a meal. And when I heard of their condition, I'm like, we got to do something. We got to do something. We're so blessed. We are so blessed. We have so much good stuff here. We need to share it. And we started preparing these knapsacks, these care bags, with sweaters and hoodies and gloves and scarves. And we had the youth department to write love notes, like thank you notes to each child, and they were personalized. Each bag was personalized. And when the children got those bags, enjoying this home-cooked meal, they began to cry. And running to us, hugging us, expressing gratitude. And it was their love, their appreciation, their gratitude was so real that we were moved. We were just weeping. What else can we do? That was real gratitude. It's a difference when what we do and who we are is truly appreciated, as we all want that. And we know when it's not, don't we? 3 things I want to encourage you to do, challenge you to do this week. We are in the season of gratitude. Over the next 21 days, how many days? 21 days, I want to challenge you. This is your challenge. To engage a complaint-free life. 21 days of no complaints. Oh, I know it. Some of you just backslid right there. Come on. 21 days, come on. 21 days of no complaints. 21 days. Some of you shaking, that's impossible, Jack. All things are possible to them that believe. How many of you would take the challenge? 21 days. Come on. And it doesn't mean that we're not going to, if you find yourself slipping, backsliding, that's all right, but come back up. Come on. Don't stay in the complaints. If you slip and complain, but come up. Don't stay there. And let's hold each other accountable. 21 days of complaint-free living. Now, this is the challenge. If you find yourself complaining, for every one complaint, you got to catch yourself and replace that one complaint with 7 things for which you are grateful. If you complain one time, you got to replace it with 7 blessings. Oh, I'm grateful for eyesight. I'm grateful for ears. I'm grateful for my hands. I'm grateful. 7 things to replace it. First thing, 21 days of no complaint-free living. The second thing, for every one complaint, you got to replace it with 7 blessings in your life. Come on. 7 blessings, just 7. At the end of the day, begin to record. I don't care if you journal it, write it, if you type it, speak it, at least 3 things for which you're grateful. When you go to have dinner, I don't care if it's at your home, if you go to a restaurant, or if someone prepares you a meal, before you eat your food, and I was taught this by a prince that I became very close with from India, a very enlightened individual. And when we would have lunch or dinner, he would take the food and he would begin to bless it and give thanks for it. He blessed every hand that was essential in getting that food from an idea, every business, every worker that got it from an idea to the table, every family that was represented in this food line. He blessed it. And then in the blessing, he said that you free it of all impurities and negativity that might have attached itself to it before you consume it, so that you don't get indigestion and all of that other stuff. So before you have your meal, just pause for a moment. In your way. I'm not telling you how to do it. I'm just encouraging you to do it. Attach gratitude to it. If you go shopping, attach gratitude to it. You pay your bills, attach gratitude to it. Be thankful. Give thanks. And let your thanksgiving draw more of that good into your life. How many of you will take the challenge with me? You'll do it? And I leave you these words. Give thanks with a grateful heart. Give thanks to the Holy One. Give thanks because God's given us an unending love. Give thanks with a grateful heart. Give thanks to the Holy One. Give thanks because God has given us an unending love. And now let the weak say, I am strong. Let the poor Say, I am rich because of what the Lord has done for us. How many of you are grateful? Oh, and now let the weak say, I am strong. Let the poor say, I am rich because of what the Lord has done for us. Oh, and now let the weak say, I am strong. Let the poor say, I am rich because of what